Asking your toddler lots of questions seems like a great way to improve their language development, and this makes perfect sense because toddlers don't yet have the words to communicate what they want, need, or are thinking. So naturally, we ask questions to find out. But you might be surprised to discover that this isn't actually the case. In fact, asking our toddlers too many questions can actually discourage them from talking, and here's why. For toddlers who are learning to talk, being on the receiving end of endless questions can make them feel like they're under immense pressure. And instead of encouraging them to talk, this pressure can make it harder for the toddler to think of the word and then say it, which often results in the toddler not saying anything. So while it may seem counterintuitive, instead of asking your toddler a barrage of questions, start commenting on what your toddler is doing or saying. For example, instead of asking them, "Are you playing with a dinosaur?" or pointing to the dinosaur and asking, "What's that?" say, "Your dinosaur is so big and loud," or "Your dinosaur is stomping." By making this small tweak, your toddler is going to find you way more interesting and be motivated to interact with you and will either copy your actions or repeat the words you have said. And this will help them understand the power of communicating as well as learn what words mean in a fun, engaging way. Another way parents often try to encourage a toddler to speak is by withholding items until the toddler says the correct word. Now, for this strategy to work, we are making one big assumption, and that is that the toddler is able to say the word in the first place and is deliberately choosing not to. Firstly, it is very unlikely a toddler is deliberately choosing to not say a word just to get on your nerves. And secondly, the most likely reason a toddler is not saying a word is because they do not know what the exact word is yet, or in that moment, they cannot remember the exact word. So in this situation, teaching the toddler the desired word rather than withholding an item is going to encourage them to talk more. So for example, if your toddler wants an apple, instead of holding the apple in your hands and saying, "Use your words to tell me what you want," you would give your toddler the apple if they look at it, babble, point to it, or gesture towards the apple. And when you give them the apple, you would repeat the word apple multiple times. So you would say, "You want the apple? Here is the apple. Apples are yummy." When you repeat the desired word multiple times, your toddler learns what that word means, which means that they will be able to say it when they are ready. Before we cover the next strategy parents often use, thinking it will help their baby or toddler learn to talk, if you haven't already, make sure you download the free developmental milestone checklist in the description box below so you'll know what to be expecting in your baby's first year of life and when to be concerned. Another thing parents accidentally fall into is repeating their toddler's unique way of saying words back to them. Now I get it, these unique words our toddlers use are often so cute that we can't help but repeat them back or simply adopt these word approximations instead of using the proper words. But each time we repeat these words back to our toddlers, we are reinforcing that incorrect word, and this will make it difficult for your toddler to learn how to say the word correctly. And most importantly, if your toddler was to try and ask an unfamiliar adult for an item using their unique word, it could result in your toddler becoming frustrated and having a tantrum because the adult has no idea what they are asking for. For example, my toddler would ask for water by saying "what" really quickly. And unless you had been told by me or my husband what that word meant, there is no way that you would actually be able to guess what she was saying. And pretty quickly, my daughter would become very frustrated. So in these situations, instead of repeating our toddler's unique words back to them, what you want to do is actually say the correct word. So if we take the example of my daughter saying water, instead of repeating water back to her, I would say water. You want your water. Here is your water. Drink your water. When you state the correct words back to your toddler, you are teaching your toddler the correct word, which they can use when they're able to say it. Now, often as your toddler is learning to talk, you will notice that they do become extremely frustrated and they may have toddler tantrums. And dealing with toddler tantrums is hard. In fact, our lives would be a whole lot easier if we were able to prevent the temper tantrum from occurring in the first place. And we can. We have the power to significantly reduce the number of tantrums our little ones have by simply removing triggers which can lead to tantrums. So the next thing you want to do is watch this video where I share what these triggers are and 10 tips that you can do right now to reduce the number of toddler tantrums your little one is having each day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week where I'll share more parenting tips and tricks.